Testing, testing. Hey, hey, hey. All right. Well, I'm really excited to do this hexagram. This one, hexagram 40. And from the gene keys, this was one of my favorite keys on exhaustion. And in that, contextually, I just made my gene keys light art public. It's fantastic. Also made 2 videos, one on how to use it, and one other video explaining why I'm stepping away from the gene keys and human design. And so if you're someone who's been into the gene keys and human design before and wondering why is John changing? You know, he was such a huge advocate, and I was a huge advocate for both those systems, right? And now they just don't tick the same box that they used to for me. And like all things, and I speak more about it in that video. When we kind of outgrow systems or outgrow people, it can be quite confronting. When somebody in our life shifts, or the system or the thing that we were so attached to becomes no longer relevant for us. And what can also show up in that and relates to this hexagram, and I'll get stuck into it, is how we blame things and make things culprits, because it feeds the ego, and it makes us feel like, oh, we don't actually need to take ownership. Well, it's not even really ownership. It's just more, you just get attached to the ego feelings. And Eckhart Tolle talks about this as being the pain body. And then in meditation, you try and avoid feeling this. But if you're listening to these, then you'll know that the only way out is really through. And when you can increase the bandwidth in your body to feel feelings to the depth of where they go, and then know when the ego starts to take over, you can pull yourself, not even pulling yourself out, your body just finds its own equilibrium, it finds its own harmony. So it's going to get the I Ching book out here and share it. Brave tab, share it, do the thing. Let's go. All right. Since I called this in 2 days ago, I first called this in. Oh, interesting, it has an update. Oh, my Kindle isn't connected. So I got this on the 11th of May, and then I got it again on the 12th of May. And when I was on the 11th of May, I was feeling quite unwell. I was unwell over the weekend, and I was just in a place, you know. And this was perfect for me to feel this and go into this. And I'll just start reading it, and I'll do my contemplations at the end. 40, hexagram 40, freeing. The judgment. The southwest furthers. When there is no longer anywhere to go, return brings success. If there is still unfinished business, it furthers to bring it swiftly to an end. The theme freeing refers to the inner action necessary to free the very helpers a person needs to completely free his true self. The southwest refers to the sunlit side of the mountain and is a metaphor for seeing things with clarity. Seeing things with clarity always brings inner freedom. A person can receive this hexagram when he has demonized all the helpers he needs to free his true self from the prison created by self-doubt, fears, and guilt. In this case, the changing lines show him how to free them, and in the process, free himself from the obstructions he has created. I can feel my mouth getting dry. I don't think water's going to cut it. In Wilhelm's German translation of the classic Chinese text, the name of this hexagram is Befreiung, excuse my German, meaning either freeing oneself, freeing another, or being freed. The English word deliverance, used by Carrie F. Baines, although not an incorrect translation of befreeing, potentially contains a religious connotation, as in being delivered from evil and deliverance from original sin. In this sense, the word deliverance obscures the cosmic meaning of the hexagram, which refers to being freed from the deepest fears and feelings of guilt that prevent a person from being his true self and thus in harmony with the cosmos. Deliverance, in the sense of freeing, can refer to becoming free of the ego. This is possible if he persists in the awareness that the ego is already ready on the side to re-enter through the use of words and ideas that have no cosmic basis. It may re-enter, for example, through a self-confidence that says, "Finally, I have freed myself from the ego." That thought is often a signal that the ego has re-entered. The ego may also re enter by seizing any natural emotion, such as anger or remorse, and turning them into ego anger or self blame. It also reinserts itself when the person listens to any flattery, self pity, pride, or vindictiveness, all of which come from the ego. In sum, a person can indeed be free of the ego, but he can also allow it to re enter. The more he recognizes and resists any ego temptation at the outset, the more he retains and values his harmony with the cosmos. Freeing refers to a person's activity of freeing himself from the various self flattering beliefs that create and support the ego. Self flattery circles around the thought that the humans occupy a special place in the order of things. The ego is active in every way that he thinks of himself as special. Each of the lines of the hexagram mentions one or more of these ideas and the spells they have created. Among these are ideas that human intervention and the use of power are necessary to create order, justice, right, etc. in life, that humans need to do it all, such as taking upon themselves the repair of nature without understanding how nature operates through helpers, that it is necessary to evangelize and defend cosmic truth, humans seeing themselves as being given the task to spread and defend it, that people are divided into good and evil. See page 564, Glossary, Good and Evil. I'll also be doing separate videos on the glossary. The southwest furthers is also a metaphor for the need to ask the helpers of freeing, to free him from the ego. I'll say that again. The southwest furthers is also a metaphor for the need to ask the helpers of freeing, to free him from the ego. The southwest in this case is a metaphor indicating the direction in which a person is to make the necessary inner effort. When there is no longer anywhere to go, describes a person who has reached a dead end through having defined every aspect of his life in categories of opposites of good, evil, right, and wrong. Freeing, in the cosmic sense, refers to getting beyond the dualities of good and evil. Through his rigid dualism, he has demonized all the helpers of the invisible world by omitting them from his thinking. In doing so, he has separated himself from all help to understand the inner truth of situations. Let's say that again. Through his rigid dualism, he has demonized all the helpers of the invisible world by omitting them from his thinking. In doing so, he has separated himself from all help to understand the inner truth of situations. Return brings success, counsels him to reopen his mind once he has recognized that he cannot go any further by following this path, and to ask the sage to help him return to his true nature. If there is still unfinished business, it furthers to bring it swiftly to an end, refers to people or things the person still views as culprits, including himself. I'm going to highlight that one in red. It is not enough to free himself of the beliefs that have led to his dead end path. He also needs to free himself and those he has been regarding as culprits from the guilt spells he has put on them. So long as he continues to see a person or thing as a culprit, he will continue to be energized by aggressive feelings against that person or thing. No person, thing, or institution is a culprit. All evil is caused by the false use of language that has led to the beliefs that compromise the individual and collective egos. In this sense, all fixed beliefs are suspect inasmuch as they contribute to evil by keeping a person in a fixed and preconceived frame of reference that prevents him from perceiving the unique inner truth of each situation. The lines. And for me personally, when I first got this, I got line 4 and then line 5, and then I got this hexagram again, and then there was no lines. Line 1, without regret. This line addresses the confusion between the meanings of guilt and blame. A person feels blame, regret, in the cosmic sense when he has betrayed his inner truth and thereby separated from the cosmic unity. He can free himself from these feelings by recognizing his mistake and ridding himself of the mistaken idea or belief that has caused it. Because of the shame connected with blame, the ego seizes the feeling, reinterprets it as guilt, and thereafter uses it to keep the individual under its control. Because guilt is imagined to be a permanent stain placed upon the person's nature, which he carries with him to the grave, the fear of becoming guilty is as potent as feeling guilty. The presence of guilt or the threat of becoming guilty creates all sorts of mischief in the psyche and can lead to serious illness. This line can also describe a person who is now free of blame in the cosmic sense because he has rid himself of mistaken ideas by saying the inner no to them. But now he feels guilty for supposedly having betrayed the values he once believed in. This indicates that guilt, the reinstalling feature of the conditioning program of the collective ego, has been activated. He needs to recognize this feature of the program and say the inner no to it. Doing so will engage the helper of transformation to extinguish his blame and the fate he is experiencing, bringing him back into unity with the cosmos. This reunification is experienced as increase, furtherance, and progress because everything in the cosmos is directed towards furthering and increasing all its parts. His inner effort also frees the helpers of fate from their task. This line can be informing a person that the fate he is experiencing has been created by his false sense of guilt. The purpose of his fate is to make him aware of guilt so that he may rid himself of it. Line 2. One kills 3 foxes in the field and receives a yellow arrow. Being firm and correct brings success. Killing 3 foxes in the field is a metaphor for killing ideas, spells that have tricked a person into behaving in rigid patterns that are self destructive. The rigid pattern in question is his seeing things in terms of good and evil. He identifies himself with the good, taking pride in being on the side against the evil, and sees others with the wrong viewpoint as creating problems. He fails to see the self flattery in this process and the ego behind it. The 3 foxes refer to spells formed by 3 or more related flattering rationales, such as occur in the following phrases: to know good and evil is to be like God, or to become the superior man. You can avoid evil by being good. To be good, you must kill evil in yourself, as by fighting your animal nature. Each of these phrases locks a person into a particular behavior: obsessive effort to be like God or to become the superior man, obsessive effort to avoid what he has defined as evil, and obsessive effort to fight his animal nature, the body. These phrases create a Sisyphusian effort toward a false goal of self development, which only diverts the person from uncovering and freeing his true self. When these rationales become a campaign against the body, ill health is the consequence. Let's go and check the definition of Sisyphusian. No results in the English dictionary. Just bear with me. I'm just going to go and check out to see where this is. I think there's a definition in there. Okay. Also spelled Sisyphean, refers to a task that is endless and futile, repetitive with no final success, laborious and frustrating, often evokes a sense of existential struggle. The example: trying to get him to take responsibility felt like a Sisyphean effort. Every time I made progress, it all came crashing down again. Great. Cool. Let's turn off one and come back to my share screen of my Kindle. Line 1. Wait a minute. Where have I gone? I thought I was just doing line 1. Oh, I jumped a page. Great. Cool. Fantastic. Line 2. We can still in line 2, everyone. It's all right. At ease, soldiers. Based on such beliefs, a person focuses on external rules of behavior, such as ascetic practices, rituals of all kinds, and inner pacts, and promises to behave only in certain ways. The person believes that if he follows these practices and fulfills these pacts, he will be delivered from evil, or attain eternal enlightenment, or a similar state of being liberated from the ego once and for all. Not only do such beliefs leave the ego intact and unnoticed, they flatter him to think of himself as spiritual, therefore capable of judging and accusing others and seeing them as evil. The yellow arrow is a metaphor for the inner truth that kills phrases that slander a person's true nature. The person who rids himself of these phrases arouses the helper of insight that shows him the true ways of the cosmos. A person may receive this line when he is feeling guilty or is putting guilt upon another. See the discussion of guilt mentioned in line 1. Guilt is connected with the idea of indebtedness, but the debt, by definition, is not payable. It is either owed to a person such as a parent, a higher authority, or a higher power. As this hexagram makes clear, a person can free himself from guilt only by ridding himself once and for all of the whole idea of guilt. Guilty feelings make a person feel weak, inviting the egos in others to prey upon him. He thus finds himself continually taken advantage of. This can lead to a victimization complex in which dread and expectation perpetuate vulnerability and attract emotional predators. Such a person needs to seek out those mistaken ideas and expectations he has internalized that make him feel guilty for not having lived up to them. Among these are guilt for having been born with abilities that others have been denied, guilt for being better off than others, guilt at having helped one person but not another, the idea that he owes his parents for what they have done for him, and guilt for not having lived up to the expectation of his social group. The image of the fox hunt calls to mind what happens when we hunt down anything we see as evil, be it a person, animal, a part of nature, or an institution, as a result of its evil effect on us. Even regarding the collective ego as evil or as a culprit is incorrect from the cosmic view, since this only energizes and substantiates it as an entity and misses the point that its existence is the consequence of each individual's acceptance of its ideas and values within himself. I'll read that again. The image of the fox hunt calls to mind what happens when we hunt down anything we see as evil, be it a person, animal, a part of nature, or an institution, as a result of its evil effect on us. Even regarding the collective ego as evil or as a culprit is incorrect from the cosmic view, since this only energizes and substantiates it as an entity and misses the point that its existence is the consequence of each individual's acceptance of its ideas and values within himself. A further effect created by seeing something or someone as a culprit is to draw its attention and attack, whereas getting rid of the image of it as a culprit has the effect of taking away its weapons. I'm going to highlight that one. Then, evil ideas are not culprits. They are the mistaken conclusions drawn from using words that have no cosmic basis. Because of their destructive effects, we need to rid ourselves of them. Deprogramming them in meditation is often experienced as killing the demonic forms, imps, demons, and dragons that have taken on in the psyche, that they have taken on in the psyche. When the evil ideas behind those figures are seen to be words or phrases, they can be wiped out, as if on a blackboard. Doing so initiates transformation. In regard to seeing nature, the earth, or other life forms as culprits, such an attitude comes from a human centered view of the universe. This arrogant view not only pits a person against nature and the earth, it creates the projections on nature that cause it to respond with fate. An example is the way people create adverse weather events by projecting them to be typical of a given area or season. Ridding oneself of these projections frees the weather to fulfill its natural patterns. Line 3. If a man carries a burden on his back, and nonetheless rides in a carriage, he thereby, so again, line 3. If a man carries a burden on his back and nonetheless rides in a carriage, he thereby encourages robbers to draw near. Continuing leads to humiliation. This line refers to a person who is laboring under wrong ideas that have made life into a burden, such as guilt, a belief that life is a vale of tears, the belief that he is insufficient to cope with life, etc. These views create one fate after another. They blind him from seeing the gifts he has and those he has been given all along, such as his body, his food, and the sunshine which have been carrying him through life, as if in a carriage. If he continues harboring these views, he will lose even what he has, the humiliation mentioned. The carriage can also be a metaphor for a helpful intervention from the cosmos, meant to awaken such a person to seeing life as it is meant to be. The intervention can come as a love relationship, help with his job or living situation, etc., to give him an opportunity of delivering himself from a fate, the burden, he has created by holding to those ideas. The carriage is the gift intervention that comes to help him make progress in his life. If, however, he misses this opportunity by continuing to carry his burden, seeing his life as hopeless, or else jumping to the arrogant conclusion that he has a right to he has a right to the help he received, or if he credits his progress to his cleverness or to another mistaken source, then he finds the gift taken away. The robber in this case is the ego, which he has allowed to set a new fate in motion. This line can also point to a codependency and the ultimate humiliation that it leads to if not halted. An example is a child who takes on the burden of being the peacemaker in the family. He also adopts the idea that the family as a group we that gives him his identity defines his purpose in life. The group we in this case is the carriage. Because his ideas exclude the helpers of the invisible world, in time the role he has taken on creates the fate of his being overburdened, both in that family and in his adult life. Similar roles are the caretaker, the sunny child who cheers everyone up, and the one who fixes everything, etc. Such people attract others to them who believe they need to be taken care of, to be cheered up, to have things fixed, to be saved, etc. To free himself, the person must dispose of his particular self image and any guilt for leaving that role behind. He also needs to say the inner no to any worry the ego may put forward that the others will now come to harm. This line can also point to a person who has unnecessarily burdened himself by accepting the belief that he has come into this life carrying burdens from a past life, a belief that is projecting itself into reality. The cosmos has come to his help by bringing the carriage, but he has attributed the help to the wrong reason by thinking it was given in return for his having made reparations. Since the cosmos only responds to humility but does not make deals, the person's mistaken belief has only invited more misfortune. The I Ching makes it clear that each person enters life innocent and free of anything carried forward. While it is true that a person may return to another life in a body because he has not fulfilled his destiny, he enters it without baggage of any kind. This line can refer to the belief a person is carrying. This line can refer to the belief a person is carrying that it is too late in life for me to correct my mistakes. The carriage refers to the fact that it is never too late for a person to correct himself. Line 4. Deliver yourself from your great toe, then the companion comes whom you can trust. The great toe is a metaphor for being moved by ego impulses rather than by one's complete senses, the influence of which is felt in the back of the neck where one's will is located. All impulses are based on mistaken ideas and beliefs. Receiving this line is to make a person aware that he is leaning on an idea that is insufficient. He is walking on his toe rather than his foot. In the context of this hexagram, the mistaken ideas have to do with thinking that people can free themselves without engaging the helpers of the invisible world, or that freeing oneself requires the aid of people. A number of related mistaken beliefs specify how freeing is to be achieved and what it entails. Among them are that freeing consists of cleansing oneself of spiritual faults or becoming free of one's animal nature through ascetic practices. Such ideas sacrifice one part of a person's wholeness to exalt the other, creating only an exalted self image. This self image debases whatever in his nature is perceived as incomplete with that image. The sage teaches that freeing refers to a person's freeing his true self through ridding himself of the mistaken ideas, beliefs, and spells that have imprisoned it. Then the companion, the helper of transformation, comes to break the spell that has locked the personality up as defective and insufficient. This line can also refer to a person's fear of guilt, which makes him tolerate the ego in another. It prevents him from saying the inner no, for fear it will provoke the others accusing him of being disloyal to him. See line 3 for a similar codependency situation and how to cope with it. On freeing himself from the fear of guilt, the helper that defends him from the ego in others is freed. Yep, another helper. The helper that defends him from the ego in others. Line 5. If only the superior man can deliver himself, it brings success. Thus he proves to inferior men that he is in earnest. Here, the superior man refers to the ego and its claim that by following prescribed rules and practices, a person can develop into a good person or superior man and thus overcome the natural inferiority of his nature. It proposes that his earnestness will prove his goodness to others. Through keeping the person focused on prescribed rules and practices, the ego controls the freeing process. One of the most dangerous of these practices is the practice of confessing mistakes and to indulge in self blame, as by thinking, I have sinned, or I never do things right. The sage makes us aware that both the self blame spell and the guilt spell are so strong that the presence of either will block the helper of transformation from removing spells. This line counsels, therefore, to firmly reject the ego's ambition to become the good person or superior man, which have the purpose of overcoming guilt and self blame through self flattery. See, freeing yourself from self images. The person may further need to rid himself of the phrases that accompany his desire for superiority. To know good and evil is to be like God. Only then can helpers come to free his true self of the ego's dominance. This line can also refer to the need to deprogram a spell, the self image of one who saves, delivers others through evangelizing the truth. Perhaps the person sees himself as the faithful servant of the sage who brings others to the I Ching. By concentrating on others, he ignores what he needs to resolve in himself. By evangelizing the I Ching, he turns it into a religion which it is not. Sharing the I Ching with others who are open to it is one thing, but evangelizing it, but but evangelizing it, but evangelizing is to throw it away on the ego in others. See page 550, deprogramming procedure. Line 6. Then I'll do my contemplations. Line 6. The prince shoots at a hawk on a high wall. He kills it. Everything serves to further. The prince in this line can refer to the helper of transformation that a person engages through saying the inner no to beliefs and attitudes that are not in harmony with the cosmos. This determination enables the helper to kill the hawk, the control of the collective ego over the person that watches with its sharp eyes for every thought that might displace its rule. This hawk has been installed through conditioning in a person's thinking mind. Without the helper of transformation, the person would be unable to displace it, for its main means of control is guilt. This guilt is initiated each time a person even thinks of deviating from or rejecting the beliefs of the collective ego. It would claim that this rejection is a betrayal, hence implying guilt. As a predatory bird, the hawk uses fear as another of its means to control, as through fears of punishment, exclusion, abandonment, and deprivation of one's primary needs. Receiving this line can inform a person that due to his courageous determination, the hawk mentioned has already been killed, freeing him from the deepest fear to go ahead on the path of his inner truth. This final freeing has taken place without his being aware of it, because a sufficient number of the rationales that have supported the collective ego's control over him have been whittled away. The hawk can also refer to a person who has branded another as an evildoer or culprit. Like a hawk, he has been on the lookout for evil in the other, suspecting him of having bad intentions. He has thus allowed his attitude to harden, forgetting that evil does not lie in the intrinsic nature of a person or thing. See glossary, good and evil. Taking the position of a hawk, the person has slipped into the demonic sphere of consciousness in which everything is seen in terms of opposites. He needs to free himself of the self-image of being on the side of good, which is behind his being on the lookout for evil. In another meaning, the hawk mentioned in this line is the dragon of guilt, which has been created through demonizing the person's natural integrity. Killing the hawk restores the helper of integrity to its natural functioning to coordinate a person's psyche and body to accord with the cosmic principles of harmony. Mm, Love this. Love this hexagram. And I initially did this as I was reading that, and I was like, why is this highlighted already? So, I did this when I was doing a delta sequence, right? By the way, I'm now in my contemplations. I did a delta sequence, and I'm pretty sure the 40th is in the delta. So in that, reading that line 6 again, I'm like, did I even read this? Did I even look at this? Because it looks like something that I've completely missed. Helper of integrity. I'm going to highlight that one. I actually created a list of all the helpers, and in that, I realized that that's just the mechanical part of me that wants to try and call upon them like a spoon, a fork, a shovel, right? Spoon, a fork, a shovel. Oh, I need something. I need a spoon for that. Cutting the lawn, metaphorically, need a lawnmower for that. And in that mechanical nature, I'm not honoring the helpers, the invisible helpers. Okay, just you call on whatever you need to call on in the moment and do whatever you need to do to say the things. Like have those 3-minute conversations, have those 3-minute meditations, have those times to talk with the sage. I went double back to some of the tips on how to deprogram. I'm like, did I even read this? Because I swear there's new stuff in here, right? So just going back to the deprogramming procedure, I need to sit for 3 minutes and just be in that. 3 minutes, it's not long. And if you're someone who's been conditioned to continuously grind and assume that I can't create the life that I want unless I'm actually doing a thing, posting online, sending messages, do all that kind of stuff, then to take a step back of that rigid nature of the human-centered universe takes practice. Because the ego is going to want to insert itself. It gets the hold of the feeling of hopelessness straight away. Hopelessness. I can turn that into something. If I don't move now, I'm not going to get the thing, and I'm going to miss out. Better make that phone call. Better make that post. Better reach out to that person. All right. So by being able to take a step back, and that step back requires a surrendering. It really requires a surrendering into help that you can't see and you can feel. And that's what I've noticed with this I Ching is there's new feeling. There's a peace and deliberance, deliberate ants, whatever that is, deliberance. Don't know what that word even means, but a deliberate presence, a deliberate slowing down, like it's conscious. So then in this, the culprits, like, and I don't know about you, but when I'm in a relationship, my culprit radar goes off. Okay. Like, for example, with Cass, like we have a midday-ish break where Luca goes down. And right now she's 38 weeks pregnant. And then I know that, she's going to ask me to make lunch. Right? I'm making this video. She's going to ask me to make lunch. I can feel this pressure. I start making her a culprit of all this pressure that I just created. Oh, I have to do that. We need to go to the butcher today. So, am I going to get this video done in time? So I create this pressure. The ego creates this unnecessary conversation in my head, which pulls me out of presence, floods me with ideas and potentialities of the future, which are all just projections. So if I just stay present with myself and do what I need to do, it's not even a reality. It's not even a reality, right? And I know, and what just popped into my head then, when someone says to me that they've got a great intuition, but then their relationships obviously don't reflect their level of intuition. So they project into the future what their fears are. Because in the human-centered view of the universe, is that I've got all these intuitive gifts and I get all this information from the invisible world, but then still the ego armoring on their body won't let them create the relationships that they want because they need to put that ego down. They need to be aware that, the I Ching speaks to this, of the microchips in the muscles that remind them that reinstall the ego, that mimic the behavior. It's in the muscles, right? By concentrating on others, he ignores what he needs to resolve in himself. Like for me, that one-liner is I watch that like a hawk. By concentrating on others, he ignores what he needs to resolve in himself. Right? So watching that like a hawk. What am I not doing right now? What am I avoiding feeling? What's my body telling me? Where's my breath? Where's my breath right now? This dry mouth tells me that I've spoken enough today. I've made 3 videos today. This is my 3rd. I've spoken enough. By evangelizing the I Ching, he turns it into a religion, which it is not. It doesn't feel like a religion to me. I've been in religion. I know what religion feels like. Sharing the I Ching with others who are open to it is one thing, but evangelizing is to throw it away on the ego and others, right? And the verse that jumps out from the Bible is throwing pearls before swine, which is why I've made all of these I Chings private. It's an invite only, right? Because making it public, it requires a discipline to go into it. It's like sharing it with people that don't want to go into it. It's like, well, you're actually not ready to confront just how much of it either victim that you are, or how you make all these big institutions and everything. If society would just be this, it's nice you. And in that, it's not that you have a lot of power here, and you do, but when you listen to what has been there all along and remember what's been there all along, the world shifts into harmony. And that harmony, you might have ideas and projections about what that harmony looks like based on what your remaining hurts are, or remaining unprocessed feelings are. But when you just surrender and just say no to things and just know when your yes appears, so, oh, that's my yes. Great. Because if you can't master your no, your yes means nothing. So being able to step back from this identity. And for me, how I did this on the 11th of May is, and there's a technique that the I Ching speaks about how to use the RTCM, the 3-coin method. So I ask the coins, do I need to read the main text? I get no, yes. Okay. Do I need to, is the judgment, do I need something I need to read? No, so the judgment's the first initial italic line. Then I got line 4 and 5. Okay, so line 4 has 4 paragraphs. So I'll write down P1, P2, P3, P4. So cool, do I need to check out paragraph 1? Yes, I did. Paragraph 2? No. Paragraph 3? Yeah, kinda. Paragraph 4? Yeah, kinda. Right? Then line 5. Do I need to read paragraph 1, P2, P3, P1, P2, or P3? So I got P2 was a yeah, kinda. So it was I read paragraph 2. And then I doubled back to the main text and broke down all the main text in which specific paragraphs, because I got a no, yes. So there was one in there that was a high yes for, which is paragraph 6. And then the questions that I asked was, is this showing me the self-flattery that is causing fates? And I got no, yes. Now do I read the main text? And I got yes, no. And then what showed up for me when I got this was the culprits of the false cause. Culprits, fault, cause. So what I got in that was my desire for my own internal superiority when I make somebody else wrong or something else wrong. So these culprits, whatever the culprit is, whether it's government, right, state government, federal government, whether it's the cabal or the Illuminati, or Charles Schwab or Bill Gates or Donald Trump, or whatever these people that I try and assume that are culprits. I not only do I put myself in a victim place and hand over my authority to these institutions, I give my ego a run at being able to come up with all these insidious ways of trying to get out of that responsibility. And then with people, doubling back to Cass, like, oh, she hasn't done enough work. She needs to do this. Just leave me alone. If I could just lock myself in a room, if I could just get away for a day, if I could just get to the office for a day, I could get so much of this work done. It's like, well, wait a minute. Do we even need to do the work? Do I actually need to have any work done? Like all of these projections, okay, which the ego gets a hold of and then will send me into a spinning, including while I'm reading. Like there's times when I'm reading and I'll like go into some kind of thought process around somebody else. Like I forgot to mention to one of my clients that I've stopped working with my mentor now. All right. Oh, I need to tell him. I need to tell him I stopped working with my mentor a couple of weeks ago, or last week. So, and then I kept on going. So am I looking for culprits? Yes, no. Do I have a desire for Do I have a desire for superiority? Yes, no, no. The helper that finds self-images. So I thought, oh, there's a helper that helps me find self-images. Great. For me, you might not have that. I had that in that, right? Oh, the helper that finds self-images. Great. So I had to little meditation and connected with the helper that finds the self-images. Then I thought, I need to make a glossary. I need to go through and make a video for the glossary. So when I broke that down, then there's part of me that wants to be in the know. Like I have a massive hard on for being in the know. Like it gets me all juicy and all throbby. How can I be in the know? How can I be even more in the know? What can I read? Like what can I absorb? What question can I ask Chat GPT so I can be in the know? Right. So this be in the know, my senses have an awareness now of be in the know. Right. Then it shows up. So I have to be in the know. To be in the know for this, does it matter? Yes, no. So the be in the know is part of the superiority because I love being the one in the know. And then what happens is because that shows up when somebody else is more in the know than I am, or I'm projecting this, I have to be in the know. To be in the know, you need to know that you need to acknowledge that there's an unconscious part of you that's not in the know. And that not in the know piece is inferiority. And then when you feel the inferiority of not being in the know, your ego grabs a hold of it and then wants you to be in the know. It's genius. It's genius. The ego is genius, right? Saying the inner no to false idea, asking the helpers of the invisible world to free me from my fate. Everything in the cosmos is directed towards maintaining and restoring the harmony of the whole. That piece made me grieve. Everything in the cosmos is directed towards maintaining and restoring the harmony of the whole. Everything in the cosmos is directed towards maintaining and restoring the harmony of the whole. When you connect and start saying no to your ego and yes to the helpers, you step into this atomic shower, this cosmic shower that wants to help rid yourself of everything that's not in alignment with the cosmic whole. It's freeing because you realize that everything around you is I want to say the word conspiring, but it's something else. It's just wants to help, wants to help restore the direction of harmony, right? And I don't need to know what that looks like. I just need to know to say no to the things that I feel like are outside of the harmony, right? Allow the helper of transformation, allow these helpers of the invisible world to do the work that I think that I need to do, or I've been conditioned to do my entire fucking life. Can I ask for more help? Yes, yes, no. Can I ask for more specific help? Triple yes. Specific help. What is the specific help that I need to ask for? Right? It's great. I love it. Then I got 40 again, and I discovered the helpers of freeing. Helpers of freeing. Free me from my ego and not making the ego a culprit, right? Helper that defends him from the egos in others is freed. So once I free myself from my own ego, there's no requirement for my ego to get involved with an ego battle of somebody else's ego. I'm going to say ego a lot in this one, if you haven't heard it already. All right. Then part of you might be thinking, oh, it's all just about the ego. Got to kill the ego. Fucking John ego. It's like, yeah, it's hilarious, isn't it? It's the cosmic joke. The couples with the cosmic harmony. I'm energized by aggressive feelings towards that person, thing, institution. None of these are culprits. Human-centered view, right? So I'm energized by aggressive feelings towards that person. Energized. And you feel the energy that you feel the energization when it happens. Okay. It's like, and social media is a breeding ground for it, especially Facebook. It's like, I can feel the the thing that wants to be pulled out of me to comment or do a thing, right? Not making social media a culprit. And it's there for my betterment. It's there for me to get in alignment with the cosmic harmony because I can feel the tug. It's like, so without that interaction, I wouldn't be feeling it. So because I'm feeling it, I'm like, oh, that's something. Like, there's the thing. So when I find myself, I can look at something and not feel the tug, that's when I know I'm that little bit closer to being free of my ego, right? And the great toe metaphor here, story in my life, I was helping my brother and sister, my family, my siblings move house. We were staying in a dorm in a I want to say compound. I was staying in a dorm in a school that does boarding. We were living in a 100-bed dorm that was abandoned. And we were moving out of that house, moving out of the dorm. We call it a house. We call it a home. We made it a home. Can you imagine abandoned 100-room dorm, and we turned the main living room, the main room that all the kitchen was, into a room where we all lived. It was great. We each had our own room. What an experience. Wow. Anyway, we were moving out of this dorm, and I was wearing a pair of boots that I bought online, and I could feel something was hurting in my big toe, right? And then I kept pushing. I just pushed through the pain. And then when I took my shoes off, both my toenails had lifted up off my foot. And I was like, how is that even possible? So I completely ignored my body to stopping. I didn't even have a look. I was like, yeah, I got some hardcore boots on. I have no idea how my toe lifted up on both feet. My toenails lifted up, right? And I just pushed through my body. So in this, like, the part of me that knows how to use my body as a tool, just to get the ego, just uses my body as a tool to get to the thing, right? Moving by my ego impulses instead of my whole body, right? And then I've been having this insane tightness in my neck too. So I've got massage tools that I use on my neck. And it's not just using, and this is the thing with massage in particular, when someone targets a specific spot, it's important to query and be curious about what the helper of that body part wants to tell you. Because when you start working as a culprit, it's like, oh, my neck is sore. Cool, my neck's the culprit now. Got to get into that. It's like, no, what's there? Like, it's be curious about it. Cool, it's informing me of something. Right? I was thinking too much. Right? I'm too rigid. Right? My neck's much better now. Worry. In a no to any worry the ego may put forward that the others will now come to harm. When we've developed this identity of the caretaker, the sunny child who cheers everyone up, right? And I've been all of those, okay, especially for partners. When you withdraw the self-image and the ego from it, there can be, oh, what happens if? What happens if? It's not your responsibility unless it is your truth. That's the discernment in this hexagram is it your truth? And you find your truth by listening to your common sense, right? So if you're subjugating your common sense, if you have the body armor, if you're in a survival pattern, because who are you if you're not the caretaker? Who are you if you're no longer cheering people up? Who are you if you're no longer fixing things? And that fixing one was one of the last sessions I had with my mentor, right? The fixer of my business. I'll break something and then I can fix it later. No, it's not about that anymore. So worry is something that the ego will take a hold of. Weather events, right? And the Veil of Reality, Bernard Gunther spoke about how we project the weather. You want to subscribe to climate change or geoengineering, ensure. And when we project the weather, like for me, England's always rainy. It's always raining here. It's always project the weather. Queensland, beautiful one day, right? So what happens here is you just shut up. Just stop talking. Maybe you don't need to have some stupid opinion about the weather. stupid culprit, right? Just say no, right? And when an individual says more of their no's, their inner no's, then their yes naturally becomes more potent. And the no and the yes also correlate to how you speak. Getting rid of the image as a culprit has the effect of taking away its weapons. All right. Okay. A further effect created by seeing something or someone as a culprit is to draw its attention and attack, whereas getting rid of the image of it as a culprit has the effect of taking away its weapons, right? Disarming. It disarms the ego. It disarms, right? I was doing Krav Maga for a bit, and it's about disarming, even energetically disarming the other person, right? Very fascinating technique. So, in that, by saying the no, disarms the weapons that want to come against you, right? Even evil ideas are not culprits. They are mistaken. They are mistaken. They are the mistaken conclusions drawn from using words that have no cosmic basis. So, if you don't know, then stop speaking. Just be shh. I've got an opinion. Shh. This is shh. Someone tells you a problem. Shh. Let them speak it. You know what you should. Shh. You know what you should do. Shh. You know what you should do. Shh. I've got a friend that. Shh. No, just shh. Okay. Deprogramming them in meditation is often experienced as killing the demonic forms, imps, demons, and dragons they have taken on in the psyche. When I was reading this bit, what showed up was religion and the obsession, and then the new age of dragons. New age, it's dragons. Talk to your dragon, your dragons. And then possession and exorcism. A religion hijacks good versus evil. The ego loves it. Satan, the devil, all that stuff. Right? Oh, Christians are good. They're the good ones. In the name of Jesus, cast thee out. Okay? When I've spoken to demons in exorcism, the person wants to keep them. So by forcing an exorcism, not only do you miss the root of the issue, which is the person actually needs the demon to live their survival pattern, is that you miss the point. What's the root? So the root is saying no to a false self, because the person installs the demon or the imp when they're not living in their true self. They're living a false self, not self, right? Character. The character takes over. My work, the 5 personality patterns, comes from characterology, and the character is created by survival. The personality is the true self, right? Personality is the true self, who you really are. Character is the show you put on. The debt of accepting these beliefs will weigh you down. The rigid pattern in question is his seeing these things in terms of good and evil. He identifies himself with the good, taking pride in being on the side against the evil, and sees others with the wrong viewpoint as creating problems. He fails to see the self-flattery in this process and the ego behind it. So the rigid pattern, this book doesn't obviously speak to the 5 personality patterns, but I do. So in that, the rigid pattern, the rigid survival pattern, in that loves that rules-based thinking, and then couple that with the leaving pattern of black and white thinking. The two work in tandem to take one-line stances on things. Like, you have to have a scientific study in order for it to be true. But then on the other hand, they'll quite readily accept any information from any Joe blogs about something else. But with this thing that they're arguing with you about, has to be a scientific study. No, the evangelizing on crypto, right? You got to have some Bitcoin. You got to have some Bitcoin. If you haven't got Bitcoin, you're stupid. You haven't got Bitcoin, you're this. If you haven't got any crypto, you're dumb, right? Got to get into property. Got to get into property. If you're not into property right now, you haven't got to have the assets. You're not going to be able to set yourself up with a nest egg for the future. If you're not putting savings away, you gotta, right? So The wrong versus right, based through the lens of the collective ego, might not be true for you. So someone else's truth might not be true for you. You've got to listen to your common senses, right? The Suffusian goal, right? Suffusian effort. And what I find in the personal development world is there's a lot of these things that don't make sense. You put all this effort into something that's actually not yours. So you listen to all these people that are actually not aligned with who you are, and suddenly knows it's the truth. So this person just doesn't have the thing for me, but I'll do it because everybody else told me that they had the thing for me, right? Things the person still views as culprits, including himself, right? So as I speak to these things, then am I speaking it from a culprit? It doesn't feel like it's a no. It doesn't feel like it's a no. Well, then it's a yes, isn't it? So being able to know that these things that I'm identifying within the field are not culprits. They're things that I see that are outside of the collective, outside of the cosmic harmony. Return brings success, counsels him to reopen his mind once he has recognized that he cannot go any further by following this path, and to ask the sage to help him to return to his true nature. All right. It's so important, okay, to return to the true nature. And you can use this I Ching, the Oracle of the Cosmic Way. And for me, I help someone accelerate the process. That's what's by asking the questions to incorporate the body, because the microchips that are in the body get stuck there, and asking the right question. And that's what this I Ching and the sage is really good at, is asking the right question or proposing the question to help someone understand what's showing up for them. Yeah, the helpers of freeing, right? There's an entire assortment of helpers behind the veil that want to help us align with cosmic harmony. The ego may also re-enter by seizing any natural emotion, such as anger or remorse, and turning them into ego anger or self blame. It also reinserts itself when the person listens to any flattery, self pity, pride, or vindictiveness, all of which come from the ego. So the gossip, the flattery, oh, you're so amazing, John. Self pity, I'm not where I want to be. Pride, I'm better than you. Or vindictiveness, fuck them. Right, saying the fuck you to people, or saying the fuck no to people that don't want to work with me, or who have a huge following that that I want. Right, so all of these, they come from the ego, and knowing what they feel like in the body to get to that point requires permission to know what they feel like. So if you're someone who holds back, like their anger, their blame, their flattery, the shadow, the self pity, the pride, trying to like look good, then you can't feel it because the ego's got a hold of that whole mechanism for you. When you learn how to feel it, then the common senses can come online and be like, oh, that's that thing. No to that. That's that thing. What am I feeling inadequate about? I'm not where I want to be. Cool. Do I need to be where I want to be at right now? No. What am I pushing for something that's out of integrity? Yeah, I am. Cool. Take a 3-minute meditation. Chill the fuck out. All right. Go have a drink of water. Go have a mandarin. Have an apple. Put your feet in the grass. Turn the computer off. Stop. Take a breath. Put your heart on your chest. Go masturbate. And with that, thank you for listening to the 40th. It's been fun. Solidly one of my favorites. And just shutting all that down, making sure it's still recording. And thank you for listening. 1 hour and 10. Gosh. Bye.